Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, it's Leave It in the Ring.
And welcome back to another edition of Leave It in the Ring Radio. I'm your host, Dave Duenez, with my co-host, Amilcar and Kenny.
Yo.
Silent Man Thurman.
Hey.
Hey, if you guys want to call in, certainly can. 347-215-7598. I'm sorry. I got a bunch of things going on all at once. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at this. But I apologize. Hey, look. Well, I got to give it to Amilcar. He called it. He had said that Tyson Fury was going to go for the KO, was going to get that KO. I want to bring up some things, though, here really quick before we go into the whole dive about what happened on that night. I want to mention there's a few things that I wanted to bring up on Saturday. The first one was that I had a chance to talk to like a couple of guys in my tight little circle of folks that I regularly speak to when it comes to like dissecting or looking at certain things. And so I had a chance to talk to, especially a really good friend of mine, Brian Fogg. And, Brian will always throw something out there that I either overlook or I didn't even see at all. But I was bringing it up to a few folks. I said in that press conference, I tuned in to watch it. First off, Amilcar and Kenny, was because I wanted to see who was going to be the sharper of the two in their war of words, right? And the one thing that caught me, two things, was obviously Deontay Wilder won that category. He won that round. I mean, I thought he really cut deep into Tyson Fury, bringing up about his addiction habit, about his suicidal. But the thing that really got my ear was the way Wilder, how long it took him to kind of collect his thoughts, to respond. And sometimes he would be at like a pause. And I was immediately wondering, dude, does he sound punch drunk to me? I mean, because we've witnessed him get hit more and more and more. So that was my first thing that I really wanted to get a deep dive with on Saturday, was about his defense not being very, very good. We've brought it up here on Leave It in the Ring, and it was obviously evident on Saturday night. He just couldn't seem to get away from either the left hand of Fury and the right hand. Okay. The second thing is Wilder is kind of like a new generation type of fighter where they kind of neglect the history of boxing. Because if you watch boxing, if you're a guy that consistently wants to better themselves or be on top, like a lot of the greats in our sport, you have to pay attention to the past, because most the past will do for you is they're gonna write you a pathway to victory. And what I mean by that is I really sat there and go, if Wilder doesn't bring anything different to the table, there's a strong possibility because of the Kronk that he was going to get beaten. And that's why my pick was for a split decision. And that happened Saturday because the neglect that Wilder brings to the table, the neglect that Wilder decides, I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that, I'm going to solely depend on my right hand. It's almost like he forgot that in boxing it takes two hands, not one hand. Big kudos, though, to Andy Lee and Sugarman Hill. I got to tell you, the Kronk was live and well, through Emmanuel Stewart's spirit on Saturday night, because that was a Kronk performance. That was a Kronk victory, and we didn't dig too deep into it on our last show on Monday, but I got to tell you this, man. Emmanuel Stewart was smiling down because all the tactics that Emmanuel has implicated for every heavyweight that he's worked with. Remember this, he's executed two heavyweights that people thought they were out the door because of a loss. Lennox Lewis, Latimer Klitschko. And Tyson Fury was a great student of what was done on Saturday night. I was bringing this up to Amilcar and Kenny through a text, and because I was on the road and I was doing stuff, I wasn't able to really, get across what I was bringing up to Amilcar. I keep saying the southpaw, but I was saying that because of his southpaw, because he's Tyson Fury, that is, because he's a natural southpaw, his left jab was really the telling of that story of that fight, because his left jab is what really pushed and kept Wilder off balance in that first round. That Wilder's face seemed completely confused and how strong he was with the left hand. Also, too, because of that Kronk style, you need a very strong left jab, because when he threw out the jab, he'd hold that jab. If he missed over the shoulder, he did that brilliant move that Klitschko used to do and Lennox Lewis used to do, that Stewart taught him, which is you miss, you roll the hand back, and you wrap around the neck, and then occasionally you give him a peekaboo with a right uppercut. And he was doing that numerous times. Didn't land the uppercut all the time, but the jab, he used it beautifully. Amilcar?
Yeah, just to piggyback up off of what you were just saying, David, the jab was obviously key. And one of the reasons I was so confident in my pick last week was Deontay Wilder really just has one weapon. And the weapon that he has is the right hand. Now, I was following a little bit of what Ben Davidson had been saying about when he had studied Deontay Wilder in preparation for who used to be his fighter Fury. He noticed that Wilder only could throw the right hand when it was placed between the nipple and the waist. And essentially that he had a very big tell. Like anyone who plays poker, you can start reading your opponents with their tells. And one thing that Wilder does is he starts with a very wide stance, and then he moves forward as he throws the right. So as long as you could read his feet and his hand placement, you could avoid the right or time it or roll with it, which is what Fury did a lot. Now, the other thing Ben Davidson had said that he emphasized or had worked with Fury on was not just implementing the shoulder roll that Mayweather uses that a lot of people try to mimic. What a lot of people don't do with the Mayweather shoulder roll is lean all the way backwards to move the head out of the target range completely. They kind of just stay there in the pocket and try to roll with shots, whereas Fury would actually step out and rock back. So that was important. Now, in terms of the jab, I agree. Look, the jab for Fury is super strong. In many ways, it's like De La Hoya's jab when he was dominant with it, because these two guys are natural left-handers that fight in an orthodox stance. So Fury has always given up a powerful backhand punch, all right, for a powerful jab and a powerful hook. And what he did is he kept Deontay Wilder's right hand up and busy while looking at his footwork to stay out of range of the right hand. And his jab was stronger and more powerful, honestly, than anything Deontay was doing with his right hand on Saturday night. He was also jabbing to the head. Even if you look at just before the fight was stopped, that whole sequence started with a Wilder jab to the body that actually hurt Deontay and forced him backwards towards the ropes. I like anybody who doubts what I'm saying, just to go look at that last sequence before Wilder went to the ropes and his corner threw in the towel. And I'm sure we'll get into the stoppage later, but it was started with a jab to the body. And of all of the knockouts, and by the way, there should have been 4 knockdowns. He wasn't given credit for 2 of them. The one to the body, to me, I don't know about you, David and Kenny, but that one was very impressive to me.
That was great. That was great. I mean,
God.
he was going to the body. Here's something really quick I got to point out, because my house was full of family and friends that came over to want to watch that fight. The buzz about the fight was huge, okay? When they started showing Deontay Wilder being rubbed down, stretched out, I immediately said, like, what are they doing? I mean, and this is why I was bringing up my little rant about history. Yeah. I mean, do these guys not pay attention that you cannot have a fighter completely relaxed? There's got to be a little bit of tension in his body. It takes away the leg. Remember Emmanuel Stewart, blowing up against his own staff when they were giving Thomas the Hitman Hearns leg rubs downs before the Hagler fight. It just takes away that energy. Now I know Wilder's trying to blame the costume. I think you need to blame that you were getting stretched too much and getting a rub down. That immediately told me there might be a bit of a problem in that first round. And as soon as that came out, as soon as that round started happening, midway around, I turned over to one of a really good friend of mine, Louis, and I go, dude, what did I just say? They fucking rubbed his legs. What are you doing that for? It was ridiculous, And speaking about Kenny Bayless, oh my God.
Yeah, I want to get into him later. The last thing I wanted to say, though, David, before we move off from the jab, is that he implemented that Kronk-style jab, that jab that Lennox was famous for, that Batram jab. In the first fight, again, the reason I was so confident about picking Fury for this rematch is that in the first fight, he was a shell of himself. His body composition was terrible. It was, very low muscle density, very high fat. He had the cardio to go 12 rounds, but he didn't have the body composition to actually assert himself strongly with his jab. So his jab in the first fight was off the back foot. It was an evasive jab. At times he did lay into it as a flicking jab, which inflicted, a little bit of damage, but nothing like the jab he implemented Saturday when he was just powering forward with it. And because he's so quick with his feet and with his hands, Deontay never had a chance to react. And the last thing I'll say, which was in combination with the jab, and I've always loved this about Fury, when's the last time you've seen a guy double and triple feint before throwing a jab in the heavyweight division?
Oh, I know.
I know. I mean, his quick feints. I mean, guys in lower weight classes can't feint as quickly as he can. And then to follow that up with a step powerful jab, I mean, like we were talking about yesterday, David, over a little chat, Deontay, by the end of the first round, he was in trouble. I mean, you could tell in his mind that he didn't have a clue for what he was going to be able to do. And a lot of that, honestly, also comes down to poor coaching. I don't think they had a really good game plan for him.
No, they didn't. And I've heard from other folks that have visited the Wilder camp or at times at the camp was that he likes to do things his way. He's kind of arrogant in that terms because he believes so much in that power that he kind of likes to throw everything out the door. It's really been said that what I've been told is like folks are like, I can't stand the way this guy boxes. This guy doesn't know how to fight. But I've always said you got to respect that power. But eventually, the wide stance, the not knowing how to throw the jab, not knowing how to time a person coming in was all going to cost him at one point. Two things really quick before we pass the mic over to Kenny. Yeah. Oh, Kenny. But here's two things. Was Deontay Wilder Jeff Lacy by Fury the way Joe Calzaghe destroyed Jeff Lacy? Was he at that point? Is he at that point right now? And if he does replace Deontay Wilder, if he does replace his team, who's the best option out there available? Because right now, Team Fury has the best guys that you would want on your corner if you're looking for somebody to develop you as a heavyweight or keep you going and giving you new strategies and etc. Because the Emmanuel Stewart blueprint obviously has been working.
David, I actually think it's far worse than the Jeff Lacy beatdown. One, the way the towel was thrown in. I mean, Tyson Fury said he was going to make Deontay quit. In the end, he made his corner quit for him. Obviously, Deontay's a very brave guy. The other thing, too, though, is that Jeff Lacy wasn't a long-reigning heavyweight champ. People were afraid of him to a certain extent in terms of being intimidated. But by and large, I mean, Deontay, when people speak about him, it's like, no one can survive his right hand. He's this, he's that. And also, Calzaghe.
But he was a one-handed fighter. I think the comparison that's trying to make it that, that Jeff Lacy was a one-handed fighter, whereas, like I said earlier, that I think a lot of people forget, especially power punchers, that in boxing, you need both hands, not just one.
Do. But the last thing I want to give Fury a lot of credit for, bro, he's from England. he's come to the United States twice to fight Wilder, right? This
Right.
last time he fought Wilder with 3 U.S. judges and a U.S. referee who I thought was extremely biased against him, all right? And he like I said, he came to the U.S. When Calzaghe beat Lacey, Lacey went over to Wales to fight Calzaghe in Calzaghe's home country. I give Calzaghe all the credit in the world for just beating the hell out of Lacey the way he did and just giving him a boxing lesson. But I think we have to give Fury a special amount of credit for doing something that a lot of heavyweight champions and challengers, including Anthony Joshua, could not do, all right? Which is go into someone's home country, all right, defeat them with a bunch of non-neutral referees, all right? And he's done it twice now. And he's done it a third time if you include when he went to Germany, which was essentially Vladimir Klitschko's home territory, and beat Vladimir Klitschko in a fight that very few people expected him to win. So, you know, look, the Gypsy King is on top. You know, I'll ask you guys later on, you know, how you think he ranks, not just amongst the current crop of heavyweights, but historically. My thinking right now is until I see otherwise, I honestly cannot think of a name at heavyweight that can beat a prime and in shape Tyson Fury, which is what we have right now.
You know, I got to say this really quick. Wilder, I give him kudos a lot as well. I got to give him a lot of props, guys. I know a lot of people are shitting on him because of this loss and saying that the kid is done, he's been exposed, he's been that. You can't expose somebody when we've known this flaw about him. But he didn't have to fight Fury on the rematch. He didn't have to fight Ortiz in the rematch. You know, this guy wanted an immediate rematch with Tyson Fury after the draw. And I know somebody said that his will was taken away. He was getting a severe beatdown, but not once did I see him stop trying to line that big right. Just good that his corner saw it and they saved him for any further damage that could have possibly have happened to him that night. But for that, I'm going to pass the mic over to our boy Kenny here.
Hello. How's it going, everybody? I have actually a lot to say today. I had a lot of...
This day? Yeah, this day? Is that what you're going to say?
Nah. Excuse me. But no, I was very excited about the fight, and I said a lot of things that I still feel are true. I didn't say a lot of people felt that I disrespected Fury in certain ways because of things that I said, but I just have to really quickly rewind on that because I never disrespected Fury. There was a point where I said, "Bye, Felicia." "Bye, Felicia" is a famous quote from a movie, Friday. Ice Cube says it in a certain part in the movie. That's where that comes from. So right. I was not disrespecting him by saying "Bye, Felicia." The F in Felicia is the F in Fury is the same letter, so I thought it'd be clever. "Bye, Felicia." "Bye, Fury." Yeah, I was not trying to disrespect Tyson Fury in any way when I said that. I also said that
I did not know that. I was going off about the whole Friday thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Wow.
I also said that his body is shaped like the Michelin Man. Yeah, this is not a lie. This is true. We all know this. And
very
you know
true.
What? He looked even more like the Michelin Man without showing us his body before the fight. He was always covered up before the fight.
Right.
When I saw his body during the fight, it's completely different than what it looks like with a shirt on. The dude actually did put on a lot of muscle. His shoulders look bigger, his arms look bigger, and his stomach, it wasn't ripped, but you could see the muscles in his stomach. It wasn't just a fat stomach as I thought it was when you see it through the shirt. So
he's got a pear-shaped body. I mean, that's the thing about him. It's a pear shape. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. Yeah. I'm just telling you what I think. It's a pear-shaped body.
I gotta give him credit though, guys. He improved his muscle strength in his legs. If you looked at his legs in this fight compared to in the last fight, he got bigger.
How could you not look at the legs? Hey, how could you not look at his legs with those short, tall, high they were? Though? Right?
he had them tights before the fight, the little green joints.
Him and Oscar De La Hoya must have shopped at the same place when it came to trunks because they both really like to wear their trunks really high. You know what I mean?
I don't know what's up with that. We're not liking it, guys. Please go back to the regular trunks. We're not enjoying the visuals. But it's not.
It worked though. It works for these guys. You know, I mean, it might make them feel lighter. True. You know, because it's all about being comfortable and you know,
Mobile.
there's rituals that fighters do. You know, there's a lot of rituals that fighters do. So, you know, that may be one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could definitely see that, and I could definitely see, like you said, it being like lighter on them, making them more mobile, you know. But yeah, so I saw Tyson Fury's body before the fight through the shirt, and I said, "Whoa, this guy! It looks like this guy put on 20 pounds of fat. If this guy really did put on 20 pounds of fat and not the muscle that he was talking about, then this guy's gonna be really in trouble."
Right.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. Then this guy's gonna be really in trouble. It's gonna be like AJ Ruiz too, where Ruiz put on however so many pounds and then looked nothing like the fighter that he was in the previous fight. So those were my thoughts. Those are my concerns. Then I saw Tyson Fury, and Deontay Wilder. He looked like he got in great shape. He put on he was at 230, 231 or something like that. But you know, looks
Yeah.
are deceiving. The great shape that he looked to be in, he
Right.
actually was not in that great shape. He was in like nicely cut up or whatever, but his cardio seemed not to be there. He seemed to not train enough. His mind seemed to not be there. Like you guys said, he seemed lost after like the first minute and a half in the first round, and his troubles really started pouring on him when Tyson Fury completely noticed at the end of the second round and started pouring on them punches. Then it was over. It was pretty much over for
Right.
the guy round 3. So yeah,
I think Kenny. I honestly think that set of worriness came in when he realized I can't feel my legs. Like I have nothing underneath holding me up, because his legs even looked way off before these big shots were being really landed. Like it was almost like whatever Fury did, he was like falling backwards the whole time. You know, so I think it was a set of like a panic mode. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, what's going on?
yeah.
I want to give credit to Fury for what he did, and a lot of that was the way he was using ring generalship to cut off the ring. A lot of
Absolutely.
that was the body work he was putting in. A lot of that was the feints that had Deontay constantly guessing and not knowing what he was supposed to do. And let's be honest, he was moving back early in the fight. From the very opening bell, Fury ran right out at him,
Yeah.
right? And from that second forward, Deontay was constantly guessing because Fury was giving him the feints. He was going to the body with the jab. He was going to head with the jab. He was rocking him back. And then, you know, what was beautiful, too, I'm sure you guys noticed it, that hook off the jab, that left hook off the jab that he was throwing. Look, it was a masterful performance. And for people who say, and I've been hearing this all day, oh, Stephen A. Smith and others, that Wilder can't box. Well, this is the same Wilder that was knocking out everybody, and no one says that Luis Ortiz can't box. Very few people were saying that Dominic Breazeale can't box, but he was destroying these guys. So, look, he
was getting away with it. He was getting away with all these flaws, which most guys that we've seen that decide to throw boxing out the door, like Roy Jones Jr., they have these natural gifts. But then when it comes down to boxing, when everything is out the door, when something is taken away from you, that's when we find out where you're truly at. And Fury was able to pull the curtain down and reveal, though, something that we already knew, that Wilder needed to be not just very creative with his right hand, but needed more than just a right hand to beat a top Fury, you know, and that's what my concern was. You know, I give credit all to Fury, but I also have to take account what I witnessed and what I thought was being done wrong to Deontay Wilder. And that, like I said, that's the neglect and the arrogance that he brings to the table, because he's relying so much on his power that he's neglecting the history of power punchers. They've been beaten because once that one money punch has been taken away, guess what? They're left naked in that ring. And we've said this numerous times. If you're a hardcore boxing fan like ourselves here, we've said this numerous times. The ring is a truth teller. It's going to reveal who you really are in that square circle.
And the difference between Wilder and other powerful punchers from the past who have been exposed in certain fights, the biggest one that comes to mind is Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had all kinds of power from different punches. You don't really see Wilder, you know, throwing an uppercut from the right side or the left side, or oftentimes using a powerful hook. It's that right hand. And like Ben Davison said, all right, and this was, again, Fury's older coach, if his hand is up here, he's not throwing that powerful shot. The tell is when his hand is down here. So as soon as his hand is down here, what Fury did, and I know you guys heard during the fight, Sugar Hill tell him, just move back quickly, freeze him, right? You see him bring it down, move back quickly, freeze him, and then attack him right away, right? And Fury's left-hand jab was faster and, quicker, obviously, than Wilder was able to move his hand up and down into his position. And also the wide stance is something that he's going to have to change because he can't deliver his punch from that wide stance. So I think he does kind of need a new trainer, but it might be a little too late to teach an old dog new tricks.
There's so much that Wilder has to learn beyond that. There's so much, but I just want to bring it back really quickly because I want to finish the statement that I was saying earlier. I still have to, I still have a message to give regarding the fight and introduction to the fight. But yeah, I said a lot which people took in disrespectful ways, which I wasn't disrespecting anybody. I'm giving my boxing opinion. Everybody has an opinion. Yeah. It's okay to have an opinion, I was called a fanboy or something like that. Yeah, I damn right am a fucking fanboy. I'm a fanboy to all fucking boxers. Yeah, I like boxing. I enjoy boxing. I'm a fanboy to all of them. It doesn't offend me for you to call me a fanboy. You're a fan. We're all fanboys. We all sticking here on a Saturday night to watch all boxing fights from like 9 p.m. So whatever. It's just I don't see.
Or earlier.
Yeah, or earlier. So we're spending a lot of time watching boxing. Yes, I am a big fan of Wilder's. I'm a big fan of Fury's. I'm a big fan of AJ's. And something that you guys would never expect me to say: Tyson Fury is the fucking king, and nobody's fucking with him. That is the truth. I don't even think AJ got anything for him, and I'm a big ass AJ fan. So yeah, the man is extremely skilled and talented.
I couldn't agree with you more. And here, I'm going to go out on a limb and say something even crazier. All right. And maybe it's because the fight happened Saturday, but I've actually been thinking about this for a long time. We're talking about right now a 6'9", 270-pound plus heavyweight, super heavyweight,
right?
Who can move, who can go from orthodox to southpaw, who proved he can fight on the inside and on the outside, and that he actually does have power, right?
Both hands.
Maybe not the power that Deontay has, but if you look at Tyson's power in his left hand, his right hand, and through a variety of punches, this is one powerful dude.
Yeah. He may actually have just as much power as Wilder. Sorry.
Yeah. Who in heavyweight boxing can beat Tyson Fury? Not now, but in the past. All right, because when I was
I'll tell you who.
All right.
Let me tell you who.
In a second, because when I came up watching heavyweight boxing, David, right? I'm born in the 80s. I started watching boxing in the 90s, right? Heavyweights were 215, 220, 200. A big heavyweight was 235, 240. This dude's 270 plus.
Right.
But go for it.
I'll tell you, okay. I think out of all the small heavyweights, I think they're going to have a very difficult time with Tyson Fury. Fury has two advantages. One, he's very mobile. He has three. One, he's immobile, and when he decides to sit down in his punches, he's lethal. His height is a big issue. But if you want to bring up the passive fighters, there's one heavyweight. But before I get to the heavyweight, I'm going to say, okay, Vladimir Klitschko had problems with them as an old Vladimir Klitschko. I still think he would have problems with Tyson Fury, the version that we saw Saturday night.
Would have got knocked out.
I think Lennox Lewis would have had a lot of problems with the Tyson Fury we saw Saturday night. Now, the one that I think that would have stopped him because there was just something in him that was vicious was Vitaly Klitschko. I think that he would have beat even that version that we saw Saturday night of Tyson Fury.
I've always said that Vitaly was the better of the two Klitschko brothers. I've always said that. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't fight. And honestly, Vitaly is we've had discussions about the whole lineal thing, and I had a thing for a second with Michael Montero on Twitter where I was debating him about it. But Fury for me has never been lineal. And the reason Fury for me has never been lineal, as much as I like him, as much as I think he's the best, is because it was Lennox Lewis who retired undefeated. All right, and when he retired, his titles were split up. Vitaly took over the WBC, and Vladimir ended up taking all of the other titles, and those titles were never unified. So we'll actually have a lineal champ once. Well, actually, we could even say now we have a lineal champ because he's now collected all of the belts that Lennox lost. But up until now, there hasn't been a lineal champ.
Hey, I didn't respect that lineal champ conversation at all. It's like I feel like him talking about lineal champ was disrespecting the other current champions. Hey, but now the dude has a belt. He's a fucking champion. He's the man. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of the belt, he fought like the man. He came in there with that look on his eye. The man looked possessed. There was not even a single twitch of a smile on his face. Yes, it was the same for Deontay Wilder, but Deontay Wilder is always like that. Tyson Fury has a personality. He's always joking and always excited. No, this man was serious possessed. He went in there with a mission and he accomplished it. I believe anything that this guy says about boxing now. Like if he says I'm gonna do this in the match, I'm gonna go in there, gain weight, I'm not gonna do that. I believe it because he put the work ethic in. Apparently, Deontay Wilder didn't put as much work as we thought he was gonna put in. He looked worse. He looked better in certain circumstances in this fight because he threw more punches. He was landing more punches earlier on. Last fight he couldn't land anything, but he did look worse in so much other things in the fight. He kept on squaring himself. He kept on tangling himself with his feet. He kept on tripping on his own feet. It was just Wilder just did not look good. And Fury looked amazing. Regardless of the fact, that's exactly how it looked last fight. That's exactly how we expected it to look. But I did expect it to go a little further. I did expect Wilder to land the eraser at least once. I didn't think that Wilder would just get completely wasted so early on. The guy
he landed.
He landed it early, but Fury rocked.
He landed it. Yeah.
But
He landed like three times through the whole fight. I think
so.
the legs were not. I mean, his legs were kind of gone, and Fury was able to just kind of roll with that punch.
That's why I say
off the steam.
That's why I say that's why I say that he didn't land it because he threw it and the punch hit. But Fury had that swivel head. Fury moved back with the punch, so the impact was minimal. Fury didn't eat the punch as if it was the real Deontay Wilder eraser. Nah, he didn't take that impact. He moved with it.
He made his adjustments. If you remember in the first fight, and Teddy Atlas, whose fight prediction, I was like, what is he talking about? And I respect Teddy a lot. I've met Teddy in a barbershop, funny enough, in Staten Island. But Teddy did pick up on one thing that I thought was very key and that I also noticed, which is that in the first fight, Tyson would always just move to his right to avoid the punch, kind of dip low and move to his right. If you notice what he did this time is he took a step back at an angle, and like you said, David, he rolled with the shot. So he took the shot, but he didn't take the full impact of the shot. Last thing I want to ask you guys, and I'm sure we got some callers that want to call in. What did you guys think of his ring entrance? Me personally, I loved it. It got me hyped for the fight. Yeah. I thought it was a great addition to the show and the drama.
I thought it was amazing. I thought that the lady to the right side of his stand, she was super swole. That lady had muscles and she was kind of sexy too. I ain't gonna, but I did think it was a little weird for the U.S. just because it's like girls holding a man up on a pedestal. The U.S. can view that as kind of, I guess, sexist. But I didn't think he really was trying to give the sexist message. I thought it was a dope ass interest. The guy looked fucking great. It was amazing. He had some good looking ladies next to him. They was muscular, tall. Hey, also those women had to be at least 6'6". Like Fury was 6'9", and he was standing up right next to them, and they was like up to his nipples. Like whoa, those ladies had to be super tall. All right, enough for me. Enough for me. Go ahead, David.
I know we don't want Kenny to stand up on the stream right now, man. The way he's talking. Let's pass in some fight fans really quick here on Leaving the Ring. Really quick, 2 questions though. Like I said, I know that Wilder is talking about his team are talking about the immediate rematch. They want to enforce that. Should he do it? And should he replace his trainer? And who does he pick out of the crops? Me personally, I don't see anybody out there. But if I was forced by hand to pick a trainer, I wouldn't go Freddie Roach. I wouldn't go Teddy Atlas. I wouldn't go. God, I would go Manny Rublos, to tell you the truth. That's who I would pick. Yeah, Robles. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
let's go with
that's a good pick.
Let's go with area code 510. You're on live right now. Leave the ring. What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, David. Hey, Amilcar. Hey, Kenny. Fernando. How you guys doing?
Nando, what's up, bro?
Oh, working, bro. Working, trying to make some dollars out here, man. Pouring some concrete. That was a great fight, man. That was a really great fight, man. Really was impressed with Tyson, you know. The confidence, he called his shot, you know. Like, the guy's a star, man. A lot of charisma. The guy's a star, man. Big-time star. I will say something. Like, I know they're talking about the rematch. Deontay wants to do the rematch. I think from a career perspective, that's a bad idea. But from a business side, he has no choice. He cannot sell a pay-per-view without a title, you know?
Yeah.
You can't put him up against Andrew Reese. You know, Andrew Reese probably be the biggest fight outside of Tyson or AJ. But how do you sell it, you know, without a title on the line? You know, that has to go to Showtime. And he's making $5 million, you know, instead of $30 million, you know? So he really has no choice, man, as far as the business side of it. It's kind of a shame, man. He really got screwed over by his manager, man. He got $120 million to fight AJ instead of Tyson Fury. He chose the wrong path, you know?
He definitely did.
I mean, what other options does
Can
he
you
have?
imagine him?
No, I mean, he had the option, if you remember, to take $100 million from the zone to face Brazil, right? And then take AJ fight and then the AJ rematch. So it was going to be 3 fights, $100 million. The first one was Brazil, as I said. The second one would have been AJ, and he could have done to AJ what Andy Ruiz did to AJ. So
I mean,
and it was guaranteed money. It was guaranteed money.
I mean, now what options does he have now? He doesn't have any options now, but to fight
Who,
Tyson
Fury?
Fury over. No, Wilder.
He has
Wilder doesn't have any options.
one
but to
option
fight
money-wise is to take a 40-60 split in the rubber match, and hope he can land his knockout punch. But I do not see Fury allowing him to land that punch. In fact, I see Fury doing exactly what he did on Saturday, maybe even sooner the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the smart thing for him would be, honestly, is not even go for that immediate rematch. He's really got to go and try to learn something that I still think is going to be very difficult for him in any scenario to beat Tyson Fury. You know, to say that he doesn't have options, he's got options. I mean, he has a fan base. You know, there are people that are going to be curious to see him on the comeback. You know, PBC is still a very strong promotional group that can finagle certain things. They can still put him on pay-per-view, regardless of the name of it not being Tyson Fury. I think he still can do it because the curiosity of folks are going to be, how damaged is he? Can he still correct? Because he still brings something to that table, which is that KO power, and people love that KO power.
What, like an Andy Ruiz fight on pay-per-view with Wilder?
I think something like that. I even think like if he was to go, like if Bob Arum wanted to preoccupy Baby Miller, you got Baby Miller. You know, because I don't see Fury wanting to put in I don't see Fury and Baby Miller. I think Fury and them are going to try to negotiate with Anthony Joshua at the moment and see if they can get that going. And then Baby Miller's going to be sitting again back in the outside. So, I mean, I don't like to say nobody has options until we get a little further down in the months. So then we can start saying this may not happen or this will happen, you know?
There's definitely fights for him, but Kenny, jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. I felt when you said options, you were talking like options to make 20, 25, $30 million in big money fights.
Yeah. I'm talking about fighting options to possibly be a champ again one day. I'm not talking about money options. The guy definitely got money options in boxing, but he's not going to be a champ fighting Ruiz that doesn't have a belt, or a big Baby Miller that doesn't have a belt, or any of these other dudes that don't have belts.
And I don't think he should, Kenny. I don't think he should be, really honestly, I don't think he should be concerned about the belts right now, because I think he took such a bite of a humble pie of what happened on Saturday night. I think he needs to really kind of go. I think he needs to do is really evaluate himself and understand that the things that he's been lacking, he now needs to try to catch some of it before even thinking that he can beat Tyson Fury. Because I don't care who he brings to the table. He could bring 4 or 5 different masterminds in boxing and coaching. It's not going to make a difference against Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
It definitely won't make a difference against Tyson Fury. There's nothing that Wilder can do to change himself in the short term for Tyson Fury. Wilder definitely has to go back to the drawing boards, and I don't know if I see that happening. You know, like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, that's more than an old dog. This dog is a senior citizen, and I don't really know if I see him completely changing up his style and boxing differently. I think.
Well,
I think
if that was really
bet,
if that was really true, but Ken, if that was really true, the Ladders Klitschko's of the world would have not came back from a loss. Lennox Lewis,
Corey Sanders.
those are different
yeah,
people.
a lot of these guys.
Those are different, more skilled people that you're mentioning.
Yeah, but he's still young. He's still a young dog. Considered in heavyweight terms, he's still very young. 35 years. It's not that old. I think he still can go back to the drawing board, learn some new things. But to kind of bum rush him back to the heavyweight elite contingencies, that to me is a no-no. I think that they need to pump the brakes a little bit. He got the title at a very low of the heavyweight division. Now the heavyweight division's at an ultra peak that I think it's just going to be very difficult, and the mindset is going to be very damaged, in my opinion.
I got a random name to throw out there for you guys, and Nando, you could tell me what you think. But this coach is particularly good at working with guys that throw kind of unorthodox, right-hand, powerful punches, and that's Mark Ramsey. And for those of you who don't know, I'm sure most of our listeners do, but Mark Ramsey is Jean Pascal's trainer. I think he does great work with Jean Pascal.
Especially Jean Pascal is such an awkward guy. You know what I mean? That might work. I'm sorry, Kenny, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was Nando.
That was Nando.
Speak up, Nando.
I think that's an excellent idea, Amilcar, for 2 reasons, right? For somebody who knows how to train somebody with an awkward, aggressive style, and maybe he moves his training camp up to Canada, man. Get away from everybody. Get away from all the noise. Kind of go Rocky IV, you know? Get away from it. I will say one thing. If I'm it sounds like that, like reading something about the mandated rematch, it has to occur before the end of July, right? So that's only 4 months away?
Yeah.
Right? 4 or 5 months away. So, and he's already said he's going to take it. So if I'm training him, the only chance he really has in that rematch is get back down to around 215 pounds, get back some of that quickness and explosiveness, and turn it into Heather Holmes. 3 minutes of funk, man. Get in there. Because he's not going to win a boxing match against Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury is going to wear him out like he did in the last fight. If he wants to beat Tyson Fury, he needs to go in there super aggressive early. You know, I agree. That's the same goes for AJ too. That's the same goes for AJ also. AJ cannot try to outbox Tyson Fury. That's not going to happen.
It's not.
You know.
I just wonder what happened to his confidence, though. You know.
I agree with that they need to go out there aggressive early, but I'm not sure that I agree that Deontay Wilder should go to 215 pounds. That's a 274-pound Tyson Fury. He can't hold all that weight on him if he weighs not with those deer legs. No offense, but they actually look like what they look like. I'm not trying to.
They're really small, man.
You know, like 200. If he weighs 215 pounds, there's no way that he's gonna be able to survive. Where with Tyson Fury putting those 270, I think 6 or 74 pounds on top of him the whole fight, like he was doing this fight. He kept on going on top of him, leaning on him, putting him in the headlock and leaning the weight on him. That'll destroy Deontay Wilder by round 3 if he weighed 215 pounds. And Fury wouldn't even have to throw punches. He would just wear him down by putting his weight on him in 3 rounds. Done.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, though, Kenny. With the game plan I'm talking about, you don't want to go past 3 rounds with Tyson Fury. You're trying to land a quick bomb on his chin like he didn't. How much did he weigh in the first fight? 219 pounds? So he looked awfully slow.
No, it was low. It was like
217. He was 217 in the first fight.
Yeah, you know, and that's when he had his most success, man. He was more explosive. In his last fight, he seemed like he was flat-footed from the beginning. You know, for whatever reason.
He can also bank. I can say this too, Nando. He can also bank. The Wilder camp can also bank that Tyson Fury does an Andy Ruiz. Go out there and he's partying it up right now because he is on top of the world. He is the king of the world, and falling back into the party trap and get him and hopes and getting him in that way. There's a lot of things. I mean, look, I think Wilder still has some time to sit back and reflect on what happened on Saturday night. I just say personally, the Fury that we saw is going to be by far the most difficult of any of these heavyweights to beat. They're going to have a really good game plan and really jab at that body to slow down the awkwardness and the herky jerk that Fury brings to that table. The feigning of Fury, that whole feigning that he does, it's got to be timed. And how you time it is not worry about the shoulders movement. It's start worrying about that waist movement because you'll stop him from coming in and out and doing exactly what he wanted to do, on the way he did it on Saturday night.
What's crazy though, David? What's crazy though is that Fury was effectively defending a lot of Wilder's attempts at jabs to the body too. He
body.
Parry the jab super low. His hand speed and foot speed is unreal. I mean, and for a guy, again, 6'9", 272 or 2, whatever it was, he's stepping to the side. He's parrying shots low. He's parrying shots high. He's countering. And what I like, too, is his ability to step to the left and then land a jab. I was just thoroughly impressed. Obviously, here I am.
I was, too.
But I was geeking out. I rewatched this fight like literally 6 times.
Yeah.
Because
I was too. It was such a beautiful strategy. It was, especially in boxing, when everything falls in place of what they've said and what they're going to do. Because a lot of the times, fighters will say certain things to psych themselves up, to psych up their fans, to make them, kind of fall into this belief that they're going to do it. But when it's implicated and it's actually used, it's such a beautiful thing to watch, and it's something that's the reason why I fell in love with the sport so much, for these moments. I live for these moments here. Fernando, who you got really quick before we let you go? You got Mikey Garcia or Jesse Vargas who are fighting on DAZN this Saturday?
I got Jesse Vargas. I think Mikey Garcia is overrated, to be honest. Especially at welterweight, man. Especially at welterweight.
Yeah, and what about Calgafai and Chocolatito?
Chocolatito, he's Calgafai is perfect for Chocolatito.
Yep, got it.
What was that?
Yeah, so I think Calgafai is perfect for Chocolatito. Doesn't have a lot of power. He's not going to wear out Chocolatito. I think Chocolatito doesn't have a lot of tread left on his tires, but Calgafai isn't the guy to flatten him for him, So I got Chocolatito this weekend by knockout. I'm really excited for the Julio Cesar Martinez fight, man. That guy, that's what I like that kid, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's really fun to watch.
Yep.
Ever since the Charlie Edwards win was really impressive.
Yeah, the one that got taken away from him right in England for him after the bell for that one.
To win because that's exactly what the fuck it was.
Yeah. I agree with you. But thank you for taking my phone call. I appreciate it, man. Looking forward to the fight this weekend. Really great boxing's back, baby. It was awesome, man. It was a great fight, man. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for calling in, man.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's patch in some other fight fans. The phone lines are getting really packed, so please, everybody, be patient. And if I bring you on, let's just try to keep it as minimum right now so we can try to get everybody on the show. But let's patch in because Ahmed has been on hold for quite some time. Ahmed, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, hello, Dave. Amilcar and Kenny. How you guys doing?
Hey, what's up?
All good, Ahmed. Thanks for being up late over there in Wales.
Yeah, I'm good. It's kind of late, but I never slept that. What was it, Sunday night or whatever? I was just so excited after.
Your prediction was right, Ahmed.
I woke up late, but yeah, thanks, Kenny. I woke up late Saturday night, so I knew it was gonna be a long fight. I just had a feeling Fury was gonna win, but I just thought something great will happen. Although I didn't think it'd be that one-sided. I did think Wilder would win at least one or two, maybe clear rounds. I don't think he won a clear round. I thought the second was a round you could have given him, but I do think he landed his right hand, but Fury took it. Fury said himself he took a big right hand. He said it was I think Wilder would have probably knocked a lot of guys out. It's just Fury implemented his game plan very well. He did everything I think Sugar Hill told him to. When he was in range, when he was in Wilder's range, he quickly took a back step, so Wilder wasn't getting full leverage on his shots. And Wilder, we found out, I think one of us who's seen his career, he can't really fight on the inside or backing up. Dowell showed, the thing I was really surprised though, how bad Wilder's legs were after the first round when he got hit. I just don't think he's done the work on his legs. You don't work on his legs. I know they're really skinny, but that's, I think, one of the main things with a chin. When you got a chin, which people say might be shaky, but your legs are where your balance all stems from. Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's just the chin. I think it's a bit of combination of the legs as well. But I thought Amilcar nailed it. He said everything in the build-up. I know I also agreed, although I was, when he got close to the fight, I was kind of not sure, because I thought so many people are making a big thing about Fury's weight. Teddy Atlas being the one guy, but just based on the Ortiz rematch, Wilder to me has regressed. I think it's now safe to say he's not improving, and I'm hearing that they're going to fire Mark Breland. I think that's a very bad move, and it's kind of a bad move and a kind of shitty thing to. Yep. Because I think he might have saved his life.
They're not going to. I agree, but they're not going to fire Jay Diaz because he's also his manager. You know.
Yeah. Oh, he's his manager as well. All right.
Yeah, he's a co-manager with him along with Shelly Finkel. It's a 50-50 managerial split. So, Jay Diaz is the guy who took him on when he was an amateur, and Deontay's been loyal to him. So he's his trainer/manager.
He's not going to learn anything then if he's going to get rid of Breland, unless he gets a better trainer coach who was maybe willing to teach him. I mean, look at Joshua when he got knocked out by Ruiz. I know it's different circumstances.
You know what sucks is that he can learn something from Breland. The problem is that he's not willing to listen.
Agree.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you're not willing to listen, then what's the point? Because I'm pretty sure Mark has showed him. When Wilder showed that he has a jab, it's a beautiful thing that he throws out there. It's just that he doesn't care for it because he's gotten away with the KOs from his right hand. And this is a big pill for him to swallow. I mean, he came out saying that the costume took out his legs, and et cetera. And, at the end of the day, it's like, no, man, you know what? It's gotten you out of situations, but it was only, and I've said this numerous times, Wilder is always one fight away of losing.
Yeah. I said that last week, didn't I? said he won't be good enough to be unbeaten. And when I was rewatching some of his fights, I rewatched the Fury fight once, a couple of months after the first fight. And I even said it then. I was thinking to myself, this guy is not that good. Like, he's not someone who's fundamentally good enough to stay unbeaten. And then the Ortiz rematch was really surprising, because Ortiz kind of slowed down after the first fight. He went the distance with Hammer. He looked like he slowed down. But on the flip side, an older, more slower Ortiz was able to outbox Wilder a lot more convincingly in the second fight after 6.5 or whatever round before he got clipped, which I thought was kind of worrying. I think is the right hand it kind of got to Wilder's head, because it's become such a big meme now that, like, whenever you see those knockouts, I think he started believing in his own hype a bit too much.
I agree.
I got a question, man. Who do you think made the bigger mistake? AJ not taking the $50 million that was on the table to fight Wilder, or Wilder not taking the DAZN money to fight AJ?
Oh,
they both seem to have missed out on opportunities to get big wins. And Fury's been the one to capitalize.
Yeah. That's true. Fury now is obviously clearly the number one heavyweight. He's beaten both Wilder and Klitschko in the back garden. For that question, I think... I've heard that there was a lot of implication around the 50-50. That's not me being biased towards AJ just because I'm from the UK. I follow some very good channels on YouTube who cut it down the middle, who've kind of followed the whole thing. They were saying, and this was backtracked by Frank Warren, who admitted it, and I think Lou DiBella on the Boxing Voice, that 50 million was gonna, that was a 50 million offer or whatever for something that would have meant AJ would have had to have left Sky Sports, who we had a deal with, to fight on BT. Now on the flip side, AJ and his team obviously could have done more to make that fight. They did offer Wilder 12, 13 million, and then the DAZN deal, which I don't blame fully on Wilder, because you got to look at it this way. If Wilder took that deal, AJ ended up getting knocked out by Ruiz, so we don't know if that fight would have happened at that time. Although Wilder is the one who was being a lot more, picky about the offers. You're saying these are lowball offers, slave offers. He could have just taken the fight either with Dillian White before, or just accepted the short-term deal like you said Ruiz did, and then he could have knocked Joshua out. I think with Joshua now, his probably legacy will be defined in the long term with how he does with Fury, because that's, I think, the big fight. Whoever wins that will be the guy of this era. With Wilder, he missed out. He missed out on fighting Klitschko, which both of the other guys have done and beaten. He also never unified, and now it looks like Fury has got his number. Unless he turns it around in that third fight, Wilder will go down as a guy who kind of had a very weak resume, who kind of, his back is kind of carefully handpicked and selected. I thought the Ortiz wins were good, but outside that, I look at that resume, it's very thin. I think they should have taken the deal with Joshua. I really think he would have had the chance and style to beat Joshua. I think he probably got the right hand to knock anyone out in this era, but he's not beating Fury. I think Fury, on his worst game, outboxed him, and then at his best, outfought him. He beat him on his own game. I just don't think Wilder's got the technical and fundamental ability. I know a lot of people like to compare him to Triple G, but let's be real, Triple G had a stellar amateur background. The guy is a lot more fundamentally, schooled from a young age. He knows how to cut the ring off. I know his resume also wasn't that good because of how weak that division was and how he fared with Jacobs and Canelo, but he knows how to jab, knows how to fight on the back foot to a degree, whereas Wilder is just one hand reliant, and it's kind of a shame. I think he's got a good jab, what Dave said, but he don't use the jab.
Doesn't use it. Doesn't use a lot of stuff. Doesn't know how to throw the hook. Can throw the uppercut, but you can see it. He telegraphs it a lot. There's a lot of tricks, you know, and I've said this so many times that the amateur is a development spot, you know, and he was a wild card and he did great things, you know. I can't take away the fact he's a bronze winner. He was a guy that really shouldn't have been looked at or cared about, but he made he claimed his spots and he took it. He took advantage of the moments that were these opportunities that appeared for him.
Would you say he's overachieved? Because he said himself that when he started boxing, he didn't think he'd become a world champion. I think to a degree he has overachieved.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, we wouldn't be talking about Wilder. Wilder wouldn't be here if there was two things that were in the method. One was that he was just, you know, freakishly gifted with this power, and the other one is, like you said, Hamed was perfectly matched, you know. And as I said earlier, he came in at the perfect moment to grab a title because of such a weak division. But he was making defenses, and he was beating guys that at times a lot of us thought that he couldn't win, that he could get outboxed by Ortiz or whatnot. But to keep that, you know, to keep that belt and to keep everything, you know, the only way I could put it out there is that when I've spoken to champions or legends and have a personal one-on-one with them, they've always mentioned the same thing, which is trying to find the next level of yourself to stay on top. You know, he did it.
I think he regressed. Since that first Stavern fight, I was very impressed. I know Stavern wasn't the greatest, arguably one of the weakest heavier belt holders, but that was still a live body in front of him who took a lot of punishment. And Wilder stuck to a very good game plan, used his jab, where since then, outside that maybe first Ortiz fight, which I thought was still a very good, good fight, and which wasn't a bad win. It was a good win that he came back from behind, was hurt. Outside that, he didn't really show any improvement. He was always out getting outboxed by guys. He fought down to his level, guys like Spilka, Gerald Washington, and it's just I don't think he's the type of guy to listen to his trainer. Whether that changes,
I agree.
if he leaves Mark Breland and goes with someone, it might be better for him. Maybe he's just become too home comfort with the inner circle he's had, and Breland's kind of been shut down. I personally don't think he should take the third fight. I know he may not have any options, but I think at this stage of his career, another bad defeat, if it's as well as physical as that was, that could be his last ever fight. I personally think if someone who cares about him was around him, I know Al Heyman will probably take that third fight and advise him, but they should try and go around the route of rebuilding, maybe one or two fights, and put him in with guys like Andy Ruiz, guys like Dylan White. You still got good names out there that he's probably...
You do. Definitely have good names to work with, you know, and to still develop them and stuff. Hamed, I'm going to put you back on hold, brother. I got to pass in some other folks, okay? Thank you, man.
Thanks for calling in from Wales, Hamed. Always a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, man. I love Hamed, man. He always brings a lot of good knowledge and things to kind of think about, you know. Let me patch in 989 here. You're on live right now and Leaving the Ring. What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Dave? It's Brian Fogg here.
Brian, what's up, brother?
Hello.
How you doing, man? You recovering from that wild Saturday night?
Dude, I am. It took almost a day and a half, dude, to tell you the truth, for me to finally just kind of sweat out all the alcohol that I had in my system, you know. And I'm actually surprised, dude, that I have my voice, because I know definitely we scare the shit out of our neighbors. I think every Saturday night, if there's a big fight, every Saturday night, we fill up the whole block with cars. They even egged our cars, guys. I don't know if I brought that up to anybody. There were some assholes that egged our cars because we were parked, and you know, and I think it's because we had, you know, the yelling and the screaming and the garage door open and people, you know, watching the fight in the garage, which is our game room, and then coming into the podcast studio to watch the fight. So, but yeah, bro. So, Brian, let me ask you, bro. What do you think, man? What was your thoughts about what happened with Deontay Wilder, and what do you think he should do? Does he stick with Mark Berlin, or does he move on and try to find new blood?
I don't. Well, it sounds like he's going to fire him, but I don't think he should be so fast to do that. I mean, just look at the progress he's made under Mark Breland, and I mean, if you think he's raw now, just remember how bad it was to watch him 5 years ago. Sometimes.
Oh, I know.
So I don't think he should fire him, but I think he already has probably. What I don't like here is how Wilder's handling all of this. You know, excuses, blaming his corner, a conspiracy theory about Andre Durrell. It's like, what's going on here, man?
Brian, with all due respect, he said he had no excuses, and he said that twice.
Right.
But he gave, right after
right,
he said
but he
gave a bunch of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a hard pill, man.
You got to get ready to hear 5 excuses.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't
but
know.
No,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean, it's we'll see. I don't think he should necessarily change his trainers, but I mean, he's got to change a lot, and he's got to look inside. I don't think he should take the rematch right away, but I think
I don't think so either.
I
don't think so either. And just really quick for our listeners, I don't know if you guys remember Brian Fogg. Brian was a reporter for Leaving the Ring when we did have a website back in the days. Remember that? And Brian is one of the guys that was reporting on Al Heyman before a lot of folks were reporting about him, digging up who Al Heyman was, along with Steve Kim. Steve Kim, I believe, was the first, and then Brian came behind him and was digging up the contracts. But Brian also was the guy that was going down to the Croc Gym when they were almost about to close their doors, right, Brian?
Yeah, and I covered the day they reopened the gym too.
That's right.
Which was really a cool thing to see. And that was like an offhand comment. I remember this was right before Klitschko signed to fight Fury. So like an offhand comment, it's like, oh yeah, we're taking this fight. It's like, what? But
wow.
Yeah, I remember talking to Sylvia Stewart, who is Manny's daughter, and she was telling me how excited. This is like 2015, but how excited she was to have what she thought eventually would happen is two Kronk guys fighting for a world title, like Fury and Wilder. Because she considered them both to be Kronk guys. I mean, Mark Breland was a Kronk fighter for a bit. And Fury, I mean, always had his connection with Andy Lee and Sugar Hill. So it's pretty cool that even 5 years ago they were looking at this fight.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
You know, I didn't even think about that honestly until you told me when we had our discussion about Latimer, Klitschko, and Fury. I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot all about that. You know, and then we started talking about the press conference. You know, mentally, man, let me ask you guys, all three of you guys, because right now we hear the excuses. He said, look, I'm not going to make any excuses, but then let me roll out the carpet here full of excuses. Mentally, do you think that he's just completely broken down? Do you think that Fury is so mentally messed up that he needs even more than just a few months, maybe even a year off to kind of recoup and get himself back and put himself back together?
I think two things happened. Yeah. One was when Fury got off of the canvas in the 12th round of the first fight, and then honestly proceeded to kind of put a beating on him towards the middle to last part of that round, and then to come right back in the rematch in the first round, and then just to step into him with those jabs and those lefts, especially to the body, and obviously the ones that rocked his head back. He's got some demons now in there, and they're all the offspring of Tyson Fury. He's got a long psychological journey to get back to where he thought he could just end anybody easily with that right hand.
Kenny, what do you think?
I wholeheartedly agree with that judgment. I honestly didn't think that we would see Tyson Fury fight at all again for the rest of this year. I had a private conversation with one of my friends, and I told him, I don't see Tyson Fury fighting till maybe next April or something. Not the one coming up, but the following one, But apparently he wants to get right back in the ring and fight Tyson Fury again, which I don't think is a bad idea. And I don't see him changing his fighting style and anything like that, just to respond to what you guys said earlier. I don't see him changing it anyway. He had a ton of excuses that said, I'm going to fight the same exact way. This was my trainer's fault. This was my legs. This was that. This was no. He's not changing anything. You can take a dog to the water, but that doesn't mean they're going to drink the water.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you guys this really quick then. Because the fact that, look, I've said this numerous times that Deontay Wilder has a suspect chin. Okay? It's not like he had this solid chin. He's been dropped more than Tyson Fury's been dropped through his career. Wilder. So how big of a puncher is really Tyson Fury? Guys, I mean, Brian, what do you think?
Honestly, after watching, he's a pretty decent puncher, especially. And I know Wilder chinny or whatever, but I mean you could hear those shots through the TV screen on Saturday.
Yeah, you can.
Oh man,
I'm down now at my apartment. Look, guys, I'm going to take it back to what I said last week, where I paraphrased what Freddie Roach said after holding the mitts for Tyson. He said, look, Tyson is a southpaw fighter that fights orthodox. So he has made a conscious effort to sacrifice backhand power for a very strong jab and left hook. And you saw what he did to Deontay to the body on the second knockdown. You saw what he was doing with the left-hand jab to the body and to the head, and also with the hook off the jab. Remember back in the day when De La Hoya started, it was all left hand. And then he got with Floyd Sr., who started working the right hand with him. But before that, he wasn't known to having much right-handed power. That's kind of where Tyson Fury has been. The difference, though, now is that he is able to generate power from that back right hand now that he's been working with the Kronk guys, specifically Andy Lee and Sugar Hill, and he's kind of stepping in to those shots. So I think that if we're ever going to see him kind of ice guys with one punch, it's going to be from the southpaw stance. But he's definitely got very good power. How could he not? He's 6'9", 270 plus. Like, If a man hits you, it's gotta hurt.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I mean, go ahead, Dave.
I was
Yeah,
just going to
I mean,
say,
anyone that
since he
big-
adopted that Kronk style with the jab, where if I miss you, if my left hand is over the shoulder, I'm going to wrap my arm around the back of your neck, and I'm going to take out your legs. And then he also sneaks in what Lennox and Klitschko used to do, which is the right uppercut. So, I think it's going to be – I think that helps out a lot in terms of his power that comes behind that. That if he could take your legs out, you're going to see a lot more KOs. And I also, like I said, I think him being a southpaw but fine orthodox contributed a lot on Saturday night, because that was a necessity to push back Wilder, is to have a very stiff left jab.
Yep, one that was quicker than Wilder's right hand, and Wilder's right hand placement, and Wilder's lunging in footwork. I mean, he totally took that aspect out of Wilder's game.
Brian, you were saying something?
Yeah, absolutely. Wilder looked absolutely lost in there for really the entire fight.
Oh, God, he did. Yeah, he did.
I mean, Fury neutralized that right hand in the first round, and the reason he wasn't landing it or even getting close with it is because he was never in. I mean, Fury was waiting on it. He was ready on that, and after that right hand, he just didn't have anything. Now, Ken, I want to kind of touch back on something you guys were talking about earlier about when Wilder should be coming back. I think he should take 9-10 months off here, but I don't expect him to.
Yeah.
I think he might take that rematch. There's just too much money on the line not to. That's another $20 million there, and you can retire rich.
That's for sure. But I think he needs to get his I think he needs to get his team together and right.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the big question mark. That's the $1 million question right now, is who does he keep and who does he throw? And does he really look deep inside him and watch tons and tons of tape over and over and over of what happened Saturday night and what he needs to do to correct? Because, immediate rematch, I say go for it, but not till 8 or 9 months. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, the immediate rematch has to be within the next few months. And
he has to make
before the show started, I saw that he said it. He's already accepted it. He wants to take the rematch.
Yeah, I thought he said that.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Hey, dude, big balls that he has, and wish you the best, but I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it.
He's super stubborn. He said this is a quote from Deontay Wilder. He didn't hurt me at all, but the simple fact is that my uniform was too heavy for me. I didn't have no legs in the beginning of the fight. In the third round, my legs were just shot all the way through, but I am a warrior and people know that I'm a warrior. Blah, 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 blah. All that says is I'm stubborn as fuck and I'm gonna accept this fight and get beat up again. That's all I read.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I like Wilder too, man. I really like the kid, but like I said, if you don't want to study history so it doesn't repeat itself, then it's your fault. It's on you, and you can blame the way the wind was blowing or whatnot. But Tyson Fury and his team, they did their homework. George Foreman used to say this all the time, over and over, when he used to telecast as a commentator for HBO. If you have the jab, it's easy. But
what happens though when the other guy's jab is better and faster than yours?
Yeah.
Well.
And
a long night.
What happens when your stance is all the way out here?
He has an 85-inch reach.
I think that Fury definitely has the bigger, the stronger, better jab. But I wouldn't say that it's faster than Wilder's jab, because whenever at any point in the fight that they both threw the jab at the same time, the punch will reach both of them. They will both hit each other at the same exact time. So I would say
I agree with you, Kenny.
Yeah.
I agree with you. The only one thing that I saw, though, that Fury does that you're supposed to do when you jab is Wilder would jab, but he only jabbed with the length of his shoulder.
Yeah.
Fury jabbed, and he jabbed with all the length of his shoulder. You know, so he gave him the extra inches, and you're supposed to do that. It's supposed to be like shooting a bow and arrow. You know, you pull it out and boom. That's the way you're supposed to do it. And Wilder just doesn't seem to know how to lock that down correctly.
Definitely. I took some notes. Trust me. I took some notes on Fury and his jab. All right. I'm practicing that in the gym.
Yeah. Brian, any final thoughts for this Saturday, man? Who do you got for Miguel? For Mikey Garcia and Jesse Vargas, man.
Yeah. So Mikey's definitely a favorite, but like some of the odds I've been seeing on this fight are a little wider than they should be. Like Jesse is like a +4 to +500 underdog.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's definitely worth a flyer at that. I mean, he's going to make it competitive. We'll see how Mikey carries. I mean, it's at 47, right?
Yeah, it's at 47. You know, which it's kind of surprising because
Mikey didn't look good at 47.
No, he doesn't. You know, and Jesse does like to walk down his opponents. I mean, he's not one of those guys that are going to cut the ring off. He's not one of the guys that are going to try to outbox you, but he's a workhorse, you know, and he does really good at coming forward and taking shots and landing the foot of his own. I think he's a solid, strong guy at 147, and I just can't see Mikey if Mikey's legs are not under him and Mikey's not conditioned when it comes to legs. I could see it being a really long night for him.
I just don't understand
that's a tough
why
fight.
he's at this weight class.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
the one time he fought against Spence, he looked awful, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're staying at 147 to fight, with all due respect, Jesse Vargas?
I know.
I mean,
I don't know what he's thinking, man.
there's so many
lot of great
fights. I
fights.
mean, Ramirez at 140, Josh Taylor,
Yeah.
140. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not even saying he's got to go back all the way to 135 at this point, but I mean, those are matchups that get me excited, you know.
I'm saying he should go back right back to 135.
And all those guys are on DAZN, which is who he signed to at the moment.
I think he should definitely go back to 135.
I don't think he wants to lose those 7 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so either. If you guys got to remember this, that the Garcia Academy and the Garcia people, they have a lot of issues making weight.
Mm-hmm.
They always have. They've always been issues with them making weight. So that might be the reason he's saying, I'm going to stay at 147 and not killing myself to make 140, 135, which realistically, I think he's more competitive. At 147, to me, is just almost like you're just that one odd dude that likes to walk around the club. You know, and just like, what is he doing here? You know, why is he here by himself, man? You know, he looks kind of, it looks off, but that's who Mikey Garcia is to me right now. Jesse Vargas, man, he's never really seized this moment. He's never got that one, you know, significant fight. He's a guy that's better known for changing trainers the way he changes his underwears. So I hope he can muster something up against Mikey Garcia.
Well, and one thing I'm excited about this weekend too is Chocolatito. We don't really know what he has left. I mean, a prime Chocolatito walks down and gets rid of Yafai in 7 or 8 rounds. But, you know, we're going to see how much he had left in the tank pretty early.
Well, good thing Yafai doesn't have a big punch. You know?
What's that?
I think I said good thing Yafai doesn't have a big punch. And if anything, Gonzalez is that. I think that's the better weight division for him. I know everybody's like, I didn't know that 97 rough was still around. I'm still here, man. Live and well, you know? I got a little bit of gray hair, some more wrinkles and stuff, but I'm still here, man.
The voice is the same.
The voice is still the same. The humor is still the same, man. But I was talking to some of the guys from the Gonzalez camp today, and they were saying, look, man, he looks great. I think he's back at the weight he's supposed to be. You know, their only concern is trying to catch the opponent. I think that's what they're worried about. That's what they're waiting for. So we're gonna find out. I think the overall that card that's happening on the zone is a pretty good, solid card, especially to end out February.
It is. It's a nice card. But hey, I appreciate you guys having me on. I got to fly here though to
All
take
right,
care
brother.
of my dog.
Safe flight, bro.
All right,
Take
man.
care.
Thanks for calling in, man. If you want to call in, you certainly can. 347-215-7598. Let's talk boxing here. Or if not, ask your question or your thoughts here on the chat room on the side of YouTube. We're always live every 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time here on the Leaving Ring Monday nights with myself, Dave Duenez, with Amilcar and Kenny T. Kenny Fanboy T. That's what we kind of call him now, Amilcar. Kenny Kenny Fanboy T.
I got so many names, yo.
Boy.
Yeah,
I know, man.
I'm gonna have a book.
One of them's got it like permanently stick. We got what was the first one? Kenny Thurman, the Kenny Thurman, Kenny Flute Boy Thurman. Now it's gonna be Kenny Fanboy T. That's it right there. I like that one. That one has a really nice flow to it. You know, it had such a nice flow that Amilcar just walked off the screen right now. He couldn't compose himself.
He's dying laughing somewhere on the side. But look, I just looked this up right now, and Mikey Garcia, man, the guy's 5'6" with a 68-inch reach, and he's right, and Vargas is 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. Yikes.
He's a big kid.
Wow, this is bad. This is really really bad.
And when he fought, look, when Jesse Vargas fought Manny Pacquiao, there was two things about Manny. Manny was really well into the welterweight division, had been there for quite some time, has already made his statement at the welterweight division. Their thought was, their thoughts were that, Manny Pacquiao was old. That wasn't the case. Mikey Garcia, the other thing is that Manny Pacquiao has a punch to hold you off. Mikey Garcia really hasn't showed that he can. He's got a beautiful jab. He puts everything together perfectly in a fight, And that's true. Windy City, Vargas has been fighting at 154. So he's going to come in extra big after the weigh-in. He's going to pack, and strong. So it's really up to Mikey Garcia to move and box. Whereas Vargas is no Errol Spence. So I think that's what people are looking at, that Mikey Garcia is going to have that ability to show Vargas angles and create these moments that are going to that he can capitalize, But just like right now, what you're saying, Kenny, when you said I don't know, that's the big if, and I think that's what makes this fight very. My problem with Jesse is that when he does fight, he does get confused because he never knows which Jesse to turn on. And I think that contributes because of so many trainers that he's worked with, that he doesn't know if I should be this guy or should I be that guy or should I turn around and be this guy. And that's not something you want to do on fight night.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just a bad situation. I think it's a bad situation overall for Mikey Garcia. Yes, Jesse Vargas is not Errol Spence and doesn't have the same type of build, but he is still significantly larger than Mikey Garcia. Jesse Vargas is a powerful dude. Like you said, he takes damage and he still comes forward while he's taking the damage.
Right.
So Mikey Garcia, dude whose power hasn't translated from 135 to 140 to 147, or at least that's the way it seemed from the Errol Spence fight. I think the guy's putting himself in a lot of trouble because, he's going to punch, and Jesse Vargas is going to continue coming forward. So it's like, I know for a fact that if Jesse Vargas gets the opportunity to knock him out, he's going to take it. It's not going to be like Errol Spence where he's going to, give him mercy because I just want to show my boxing ability. We all saw it. There was points in that fight with Errol Spence where Errol Spence could have knocked him out. And Errol Spence will back off and stop throwing punches. I don't think Jesse Vargas is going to do that. Jesse Vargas is going in there for the killing, it's just a bad overall look, I think, for Mikey Garcia. And you guys said that you aren't asking him to go down to 135. Oh, I'm asking him. I'm begging him. Please go back down to 135. Please.
Well, I mean, look,
Yeah.
a fight with Teofimo is obviously more interesting than this. A fight with Lomachenko is obviously more interesting than this. A fight with Devin Haney is obviously more interesting than this. A fight with Ryan Garcia is obviously more. I could just keep going. You know what I mean?
Right.
And what's worse is that when you look at the crop of welterweights that are out there, we've already seen him against Errol Spence Jr. I don't really want to see him against Terrence Crawford or anybody else. It's like, look, you're just not a welterweight. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
I give them all.
Some of us are born heavyweights. You're not a welterweight.
Exactly. And I give him all the props in the world for fighting Errol Spence. You know, I had said he wanted to, by him making that move to welterweight division, he was going after the Godzilla of the welterweights. And I give you all the props. I thought for sure what he was going to do was jump up, get that itch scratched, and then go back to where he should go.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he wants to linger around in that division and prove something that we already know you cannot accomplish, But he did pick the weakest. I don't want to say he's the weakest. I mean, because Jesse Vargas is a tough guy. He is a title holder. He's got in with some of the best names out there. He is a competitor. But let's be honest here. Jesse Vargas, like I just mentioned a little while ago, is a guy that gets confused on what his abilities are because he doesn't even know who he is yet. Is he a puncher? Is he a boxer? Is he 154? Is he 147? Is he content with this trainer, that trainer? I don't know.
He's a tweener, so he's too small for 154. He's too big for 147. He has, he's a good boxer, but doesn't have crazy punching power. And honestly, he's a better commentator than he is a boxer. I like Jesse Vargas. I'm just not that excited about ever seeing him fight. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I
was
like
at one time when he came to the scene, but not as much as I do now, And I think that, the reality is that Mikey Garcia picked him for a reason. He's not the most dangerous 147 fighter out there. He's a recognizable name. He's a name that is beatable. But as we mentioned earlier, Kenny and myself, is that he is facing a big guy. And Wendy said he had mentioned it. He'd been fighting at 154. He does come forward. He does take shots fairly well. And if he does trap you, he will let his hands go. And he's got decent power. I mean, I wouldn't say he's not, he's not going to, start you out of there immediately. But he does have power enough to slow you down and break you down to submit to what he wants. But, even though this may not be Mikey Garcia's division, this may be Mikey's best win at 147 at his second tryout at 147.
If he can pull the win off. Like I said, Mikey,
if he can pull the win up.
Yeah, he's going to be, not Mikey Garcia, Vargas is going to be very, very big. He's going to come in there strong and powerful. And, Mikey Garcia is putting himself in danger. And unlike Amilcar just said, I actually like to see Vargas fight. Why? Because when you see him fight, it's not that you're going to see a knockdown or you're going to see an amazing, intelligent back and forth fight, but you're going to see a lot of action because he takes hits and he gives them right back, So yeah, he's not the best fighter out there. I don't expect to see the dude winning championships or belts or whatever, but I do like to see him fight. He does bring some excitement to the ring,
But would you like to see him fight more than any of the guys I've mentioned previously, though, Kenny?
I'm not sure which guys you.
I was rattling them off. I was saying, Devin Haney, Tank Davis, Loman.
Not at
all of the guys at 135 and 40, Prograve, Josh Taylor. I would have rather seen them take on a guy like Maurice Hooker, to be honest with you, or even Jose Zepeda.
Yeah.
I hear
You know what's sad is that with all the talent in the world that Mikey Garcia has, is that first he went on hiatus because he went with his war with Top Rank for quite some time, okay? And everybody was anticipated for his comeback. He comes back, he looks spectacular. Then he decides to go to welterweight to fight Errol Spence Jr. If this bidding of what he's doing at the welterweight division keeps going, guys, and he doesn't face any of the names that Amilcar has just said, he's going to be remembered as the kid that tried out at 147 and was beaten thoroughly for 12 rounds against Errol Spence Jr. And that's it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. When he could actually go down, there's so much more. If I was him, I would definitely go. Like I said earlier, I'm begging him to go back to 135. I would love to see him, Lomachenko. I would love to see him and Haney, him and Tank, him and Ryan Garcia, him and a whole shitload of other fighters that are great, that are 135, that will make for a better match than him at 147.
Absolutely. And you know what's crazy too is that it's almost his way of him reminding us that he doesn't love boxing. You remember him saying that, Amilcar? He used to say that in the beginning of his career when he was with Top Rank, you know, because he wanted to be a police officer, and he always said that. Well, I don't really have the love for boxing. That's not what I want to do as a career. It's not what I want to end up doing for the rest of my life. And him not taking these fights at 135 and 140, it's almost that translation of him telling us, I don't really love boxing, so I'm not going to give you the best optional fights that were supposed to be produced by me.
Yeah, I mean, for him, boxing is the family business. You know, his grandfather did it. His dad or his older brother and his dad, and you know, his older brother is obviously a champion. Right. It's a family trade that he happens to be very, very good at.
Really, really good at. You know, I mean, he has everything gifted wise. All in the same sense of the way Floyd Mayweather Jr. was among his family tree. You know, Mikey Garcia has it. Windy City, really quick, and Chadwick says, I don't think he's staying at 147. He's trying to lose weight because he got fat after that Spence fight. How long ago was that, though, Windy? I mean, you would think that he would have got something, you know, down at least a 140. You know, if he hasn't made it yet, lost that weight, I don't think he is. Unfortunately, Taco Tuesday is really popular in Oxnard. You know, I hate to say it, man.
It's tomorrow.
Hey,
thank you. I got to write that down because I got to pack in a few.
Yeah, I'm about to go have some tacos in Mikey Garcia's name.
Hey, really quick, let's patch in Hamed. He said he still got a few other things that he wanted to drop here on Leaving the Ring, and we got some downtime here. Hamed, you're back on air, brother. What's going on?
All right. Yeah. So I was on hold, didn't it? Because you said I just wanted to ask a couple more questions. Because
go for it.
I don't know about you guys if you touched on this topic, but what did you think about Kenny Bayless? Because I thought that was a very bad performance.
Oh, we haven't even touched on that. No.
God, thank you for bringing it up. Can I go in, David?
Go right ahead. Right ahead.
Really quickly before you go in, I just want to say that I'm probably gonna be the guy rebuttaling the whole Kenny Bayless situation, not dramatically, but
go ahead.
Rebuttaling certain points.
Go ahead.
Time to call me fanboy.
Amilcar, right? I don't think you heard this because you had stepped away from the show for a minute. But Kenny's new nickname is Kenny Fanboy T. That's his new nickname.
Well, first of all, because Kenny has the same name as Kenny, so
right.
I gotta defend my Kenny brethren, you know.
Right, you're Kenny. I mean, bro, if a guy's name Amilcar, I'm probably gonna defend him a little bit, you know.
Right.
Luckily for me, I share the name of one of the best boxing trainers of all time. So, as you guys know, Carlos Monzon's trainer.
Monzon, right? Yep.
No, but look, you know, Kenny Bayless. There's three things I always think of when I think of how he inserts himself in these fights. Number one, he's always too handsy with the fighters. You don't have to you don't have to always be putting your hands on them and telling them to break. Let the fighters break out of clinches. You know, a lot of the time he was he was getting in there and he was, putting his hands or even slapping the guys, telling them to break when they literally just got into a clinch, and you don't need to do that right away.
He was,
also, his verbal commands are always contradictory and they're unclear. A good boxing referee, and you notice this a lot, especially in international referees at the amateur level, you only need 3 commands. The 3 commands are box, stop, and break. That's it. You want them to fight, you say box. You want them to stop, you say stop. You want them to break, you say break.
Look up, but is it not different for professional boxing? Sorry to cut you off. I was just wondering because I realize that as well. Professional referees are different to amateur referees.
No, they are different, Ahmed, but you don't need to be just making up all these commands, which is what a lot of professional referees do. And the worst, I mean, it wasn't the case this weekend, but the worst is when they're giving these long commands and inserting their own verbiage when sometimes these guys don't even speak English. That's why a referee's commands have to be very short, one syllable, very clear commands. All right, so, I'm not going to get into the way that he walks around the ring with his ass up in the air and because that's the other thing I always notice about Kenny Bayless. Pause. Kenny ass out Bayless.
Oh, you're looking at the booty? You're looking at the booty? What you doing looking at the booty, man?
He just has
how could you not?
Steve Urkel, pants all high. He might as well be wearing Spencers. It's ridiculous.
He's one of those guys that has to reach with his wallet over his shoulder.
Yeah. So, but back to the serious stuff for a second.
Right.
Yeah.
He also missed knockdowns. One of the knockdowns he missed. The first knockdown he missed was when Wilder fell to the floor after holding on and grabbing to Fury after being hit. Okay.
Yeah, going forward. Right.
Give him the benefit of doubt on that one. But there was another one where Fury literally hits him right into Bayless, who shouldn't have even been in that spot in the first place, right? Wilder's falling backwards after being hit. Kenny Bayless kind of keeps him up a little bit, and then he ends up falling back into the ropes after that. Both of those should have been called knockdowns. But the most egregious thing to me was him deciding to take a point away from something that both fighters were doing, and neither of them had really received an individual warning for. I mean, you got 2 guys working in a clinch, all right? He says break while they're still punching. I mean, it's just an unclear command. If you want them to stop, say stop. But you don't say break when guys are throwing punches and they have one hand free. Look, the referee mechanics were just not good. And to take a point away at that point in the fight, I just felt it was ridiculous. And also it helped Wilder recover a little bit, which is what Lennox pointed out, because he gave him a lot of time right after the production. So I was just not happy with Bayless. And I'm very rarely ever happy with the way he referees his fights. And they should have had an international referee there anyways.
All right.
Can I just say this, Kenny, before you jump in? I've always been critical of referees and officials because in the UK, I think we have some of the worst officials. Like, the standard is so bad. Like, they'll stop fights prematurely, and it's just horrible. That's why I'm not really that big of a fan of UK boxing on the grassroots. I used to be, but as the years have gone by, the officials have just gone bad, and now they're very bad. I think in Vegas they were good to a degree, but now it's gone out of control. Like, they never have a referee, apart from the Golovkin-Canelo rematch, a referee who's from a different state. Like, they always got the same guys, Tony Weeks, Vic Draculic, and I don't know if you spotted it on the undercard. That Vic Draculic, the referee, he deducted 6 points in one fight. Like, they over-officiate some of these fights. Like, I don't know why they need to get involved so much. Like, I thought Jack Reese did a good job in the first Wilder Fury fight. Like, let them fight on the inside. If someone's punching below the belt, you could warn them. You don't have to take points immediately off. Like, I thought Bayless was too involved. And it kind of reminded me in the Ward Kovalev fight. In the first fight, the judges, I thought, got it wrong. And in the rematches, the referee, although this time Fury completely took it out the judges and referee's hand, like Fury was just a elite fighter, but it's not a good look. Like, he's always a boxing, like in these high-profile fights, you either got some sort of officials messing up or, not performing at their best. And I do think Kenny Bayless is actually a good referee. It's just, he's very inconsistent. Same with Tony Weeks as well.
I would have to agree with the whole inconsistency with Bayless and Tony Weeks. I do also agree with Amilcar that he was a little too hands-on. What I did notice was that he kept on slapping Tyson Fury in the back, and you could hear it through the camera. So you know that if you could hear it, he was slapping Fury pretty hard in the back. But
He's ridiculous.
But I do have to say, I do agree with the point deduction. Yes, Kenny Bayless was a little not consistent with his calls, whether it was break, stop, or box. Or yes, he was a little inconsistent, so it could have been a little confusing. But you have to understand that one thing that kept on happening throughout the entire fight is when Kenny Bayless would say break or stop, an extra punch or two will always fly out of Tyson Fury's side and land on Wilder. That was happening the entire fight. So at the point that Kenny Bayless took the point away, I was good. I was happy with the point deduction because like, whoa, this guy's really fighting dirty. There's a lot of stuff that we haven't mentioned today, like how Tyson Fury kept on choking him every time he put his weight down on top of him. He would put his body on top of him, then he would bring the forearm up onto Deontay Wilder's neck. All that stuff is dirty stuff that Kenny Bayless was just letting slide and wasn't officiating. He does over-officiate certain things, but he under-officiates other things. The point deduction...
Wilder was rabbit punching at times as well, I thought.
He was.
Wilder was rabbit punching for sure, but the Wilder rabbit punching came in the later rounds after Wilder kept on getting abused after Kenny Bayless would call break, and the punches kept on flying from Fury. If you look at it, it was maybe round 4 or 5 that Wilder also started letting his hands go when they were grappling and holding each other up. In the earlier parts of the fight, Wilder wouldn't let the hands go when they were close by. He would try to grapple and hold and stuff like that. And then Kenny Bayless would be like, break! And then you see, boom, boom, 2 more punches fly every single time.
Here's the thing. Most of the time he said break, guys had one hand open, or a hand free, sorry. And then after he says break, he doesn't say box again. So when are they supposed to start throwing punches?
Right.
True. See, that's why I said, yes, he was definitely inconsistent with...
It makes no sense.
He was definitely inconsistent with the phrases that he was saying, what he was calling. I completely agree with that. But but you cannot deny the fact that Fury was fighting extremely dirty and throwing punches after Kenny Bayless said break. And that he definitely deserved, and that he definitely deserved for that 1 point to be deducted. It's not even he didn't get to say box, bro. If the dude says break and you're still holding the other fighter and you haven't broken, and you start throwing punches, where's there time for him to say box there? No, the point deduction was 100% deserved.
Generally, there's a warning. Generally, they warn the guy.
Generally, there's a warning, bro.
He gave him a warning early in the fight. He gave him a warning like in the 3rd or the 4th round.
I was going to say, he did give him a warning.
To both of them.
It was 2 rounds before that. He both of them. He said, I'm going to start taking points away if you guys don't follow my instructions.
His unclear instructions. And his hands and moving around with his eyes all bugged out. I mean... The guy he's just distracting, man. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you on camera with your Steve Urkel movements and your eyes all bugged out. Look, just move like that. You guys fight.
The funniest part of his officiating.
Those guys are popping out.
The funniest part of the officiating was when he goes break, and then you see, I think, right when he said break, I think it was Wilder that let a punch go. And it hit Kenny Bayless in the hands or something. You see, he backed up and he completely forgot that he said break or whatever. He was like, "Oh my god!" It was like a shock moment. It was so funny.
That's the point. Yeah, he's sometimes over official. Like his commands are not clear. The thing is also he's way too hesitant to break guys up. Like you gotta let guys fight on the inside. Like if one arm is tied or one arm is clear, you gotta give them time to at least work out themselves. You can't quickly jump in.
Right.
Like I think at times he's a bit too hesitant to jump in. He's a bit too involved, and
when you watch his
basically needs to take
mechanics
a
as
step
a
back.
referee, when you watch his mechanics as a referee, it's like every second he's dying to jump in.
Yeah, Mitch Halper, who I always felt that was one of the really good refs before he took his life, sadly, from Las Vegas. I remember watching an interview with him, and he was saying that reffing is a consistent. It's a consistent job that you got to be on top of. You got to visit the gyms. You got to work sparring and amateur. Just that you got to be on your toes as much as the fighters are on their toes. I always wondered how much of these older reps are getting in that time because, it's like when they make it there's no regulation. There's nothing to make them to see whether or not they could continue officiating. Do they have a lack of response? Their eye coordination, is it still there? Their reflexes? There's a lot of stuff. I think with Kenny Bayless, too, what happens with him and why we saw that point deduction was his way of trying to take command of situations that he had no complete command over because of the way, like you said, Amilcar, he's not very direct. He's not very clear on his commands.
Yeah.
Would you say his control as well? Control, sometimes he loses control like other referees.
Everything was from his, like I said, his commands were unclear, right?
Right.
And his positioning was terrible half the time, which is why Wilder got knocked down into him. And he just wants to insert himself too much. And honestly, constantly calling for break when hands were freed, that helped Wilder, if anything, because Wilder's the one who can't fight on the inside.
Yeah. He was biased basically towards Wilder. The thing, I don't know if this is corruption or what, because I realized whenever there's Al Heyman fighter or whatever, they always get, these are not
Kenny
bad
Bayless
referees.
is there. Yeah. Kenny's
Bayless,
always there.
Tony Weeks when Mayweather and Ward, I think it's more to do with Ward in that rematch. Bayless for Mayweather was very, I thought, biased against the Madonna fight. This fight was for Wilder. I think he could have stopped that fight to Bayless, but if that was the other way around, Fury's getting dropped all over the place, bleeding. But it wasn't, I don't think he officiated it fairly. And I think the officials are better, especially the referees on the East Coast. The guys like Charlie Fitz, Steve Willis. Yeah, those are good referees.
Even the female referee, who I can't remember her name, like she's a lot better than these dudes. And could you ever imagine a situation where Deontay would go to England to fight Tyson Fury, and you'd have 3 English judges and an English referee?
Yeah, I've never liked that about Las Vegas. It's always 3 American judges, which I think is never a good idea. And you got the referee, who's majority of the time is American as well. I do think the officials are better than the UK, but it's not a good look. There's some referees I think who are way too lenient and not involved. Like I think Steve Smoker was a good referee, but at times he was way too laid back. Where there's others who I think are just way too involved. I think there should be a line where they should,
Well, Ahmed, you're mentioning a lot of older guys already. These guys. There's got to be a change of the circuit here, in my opinion. We boxing tends to hang on to old blood, and old ideas. There's got to be, in order to see these other guys come in to fruition of their trade, you got to give them opportunities and slowly scale them up and all that. Where I don't see that. I see.
Do you choose experience or do you choose youth? So I'm saying, I do understand what you're saying, but I'm saying, are they basing everything on experience? That's why all these old guys.
They are basing. They're basing not just on experience. They're basing on being familiar. Okay, and boxing, a lot of the times, look, a small promoter doesn't have say who they're going to work with. The commission does, but a big promoter has say who's going to work the card, and that's a problem. It should be equal down the stretch. There should be no favoritism. There should be no, oh, let me pick what I want and what I should take. The commission should be looking at it thoroughly and say, okay, let's look at 4 or 5 fights back of this ref and see what they've done. Let's also have some type of some testing here. I mean, being a ex-union guy, we had to re-get certified if you were welding, if you were any type of burning pipe or anything in position. You had to retest. I don't see why these guys are not retest.
I agree.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. That's one of the main, I think, probably problems, because Joe Cortez was a referee, but he retired at a very late age. I think he was about
late age.
71 or something. So
he was blind, bro.
I was surprised.
I want to say that he was legally blind, if I remember that correctly. Don't quote me on it, but I want to say I can go back and find out. But I believe that, if I remember correctly, I was told that he was legally blind and he was still in there. He was missing a lot of stuff, man, towards the end of his career. I mean, it was so obvious. They should have cut him loose a long time ago. But like I said, there are some...
I think Ahmed was being a little bit... sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, there's such a good old boy club in boxing. It's terrible. That's all I'm saying.
I have a quick question. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, Ahmed seems to believe that the referees in England or the Britain are not as good as the ones in Vegas. The only guy that comes to mind that I've had some issues with, at the top of my head, is Ian John Lewis. But I think that Phil Edwards.
It's a law.
Yeah, Phil Edwards is a decent referee. Howard Foster, a decent referee. Terry O'Connor, decent referee.
If you look at the track records, how quickly they've stopped fights in the past. I was at Joshua Takam. Phil Edwards is the referee. I thought
that was a bad one. That was a bad one. You're right about that.
Frost Rose, Howard Foster. That was a bad stoppage. That's what I'm trying to say. With the UK referees, I'm always wincing when there's a fight in the UK. This guy is about to stop the fight. I think in the UK they're just not that good, and the same as their judges as well. I just think that. But in Vegas, I think maybe it's corruption, because Vegas is, the gambling capital of the world. Or I think maybe some of them are just being old and aged out. Because I thought Robert Byrd was a really good referee, but you look at some of the last couple of fights.
He's too old.
Yeah, he's too old. He's ready over that.
As well.
I guess to ask my question really quickly, I read something on Twitter. I saw it was an image of Kenny Bayless's face staring at Tyson Fury with disgust in his eyes, and it was I was reading the comments under the picture, and it was something along the lines that Kenny Bayless is a fan of Tyson Fury, something like that. That he wanted Tyson Fury to win, and that he was very upset. Excuse me, not Tyson Fury. He wanted Deontay Wilder to win, and he was a fan of Deontay Wilder's, and that he was very, very upset that Tyson Fury won. Do you guys believe any of that stuff? Is that real?
No,
or is that just bullshit commentary?
I think that people who are doing that are kind of inserting a race into the equation, because Deontay Wilder's black, Kenny Bayless is black, Deontay Wilder's African American, he's African American. But the optics, again, it's look, if you had Deontay going to England, all three referees were from England, and the referee was Irish gypsy traveler, it wouldn't look fair. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's true. No,
it just wouldn't look fair.
Sorry, someone did put a picture up and check down that rumor, because Bayless, there's pictures of Bayless and Mayweather when he's won, Pacquiao when he's won. It's just his facial expression. But we shouldn't get that mixed up.
Let's make this clear. Because, see, here's the thing. Bayless has been picked by Al Heyman's promotion, not Al Heyman himself, but, the staff that worked there. Not because he's a black guy. It's because they like the way he officiates. They like the way he's reffing, and they wanted to work for their guy. That's just a simple thing.
Work on the inside.
Right. So of course, and that's what I mean, that across the board, it should be, the commission should have say who works with who, And there's got to be a different method. And I'll say it again: these smaller promotions, they don't get to pick the ring doctor. They don't get to pick the judges. They don't even get to pick the refs. I was at in San Francisco card for a much smaller promotional group that was being backed up by Golden Boy, but Golden Boy at the time wasn't even there. They were just lending the name, okay? And I was talking to the in-house promoter, and he was saying it's really hard. He goes, well, here's the thing is that, because I was like, this is the reason I'm bringing it up, because I realized that we have good refs in the Bay Area of California and in Southern California. But I was wondering, why are we seeing Nevada judges here, and why are we seeing Nevada refs? And he said, well, we don't get to pick them because we're a small-time promotional group. You have to pay them extra to tell them who you want. We don't get to select any of that. You know? So that's what I'm saying. Across the board, I think it's just shitty the way they do it. But it's a good old boy club in boxing, and it's something that's never been broke because it's been developed since the first day boxing was born.
Yeah.
I don't think appointing bailiffs before the fight was that bad of an idea because Wilder, even now, he's making excuses. But after the first fight, there was a lot, going on with them blaming Jack Reese, even though I thought he did a very good job. Like, if they're around 12, if that was someone like Bayless, he'd probably wave it off on 99% of the other referees. But the fact that we've seen what happened in that round 12, that was the right decision. And that's why we're here after the other night on Saturday night. But it's the way he refed the fight. But after the fight, Wilder, I'm sure I read he was blaming Bayless. But Bayless did say he would have stopped the fight early. He was about to stop the fight before Mark Whelan threw in the towel. But I personally thought Bayless could have stopped that fight a bit earlier if he really wanted to. I think he gave Wilder every benefit.
Right. He could have. Ahmed, I'm going to put you back on hold, bro, because we only got 3 more minutes. We got to give up our final thoughts here.
Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, brothers. Thank you so much, there was so much that was surrounding about race and, in terms of who was trying to bait what. I don't really think Wilder was trying to bait race. I think he was trying to bait the whole fact that it is something that you can't ignore. Racism in the sport of boxing is huge. It sells tickets. If you don't believe me, watch how Bob Arum created the rivalry between Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and Filipinos and Mexicans. And, it's just so much behind it because people become very patriotic. And being patriotic is a poison. It's a threat. I mean, look what's going on right now in our country here in the United States about being so patriotic. If you're not one way, you're not a real patriot of the U.S. So I just think that Wilder is still a guy that, he knows how to sell tickets. Was he touching at it? Was he flirting with it? Of course he was. He was. And,
and in the media too.
Yeah, he was,
Did you see Jason Whitlock?
I did.
What a fool.
I did it.
He had Tyson Fury on, and he was calling Tyson Fury to his face the great white hope. And, what does it feel like that this is a black versus white? And Tyson Fury shut him down. And what a lot of people don't realize about gypsies is like gypsies are a group in England that have been discriminated against. They were victims in the
hated on.
People wouldn't do business with them for thousands or hundreds of years. They faced a lot of racism. Tyson Fury just looks like a typical white guy to us in the United States, but that's not what he is. He's from a disenfranchised racial group. So it's just but don't bring it into the sport, man. Let's just follow guys for who they are, their boxing styles and everything else. I didn't like it personally.
I never care for it. I think that it gives you biased eyes, and like I said, but it's very strong in the sport of boxing, just like in soccer or football. Some like to refer it, but I really don't buy into it. But I understand why it's used as a promotional gimmick. because it's worked. It's a formula that's worked, and it hasn't been broken. And people will be sucked into it, which is really bad. Anyways, hey guys, again, as always, had a great time here on Leaving the Ring. We're on every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern time here on Blog Talk Live and on YouTube. If you didn't catch the show, don't worry about it. It will come right back up in replay. Everybody that visited us, thank you very much. Everybody that calls in, thank you very much. Again, as always, enjoy your weekend and don't drink and drive.
Thank you, guys.
You will spill your beer.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Have a great night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros,